Hi, this is Mark. There are a lot of reasons to get angry these days, but I prefer to focus on the positive things that we each can do to make this world a better place. The book Building a Better World in Your Backyard, Instead of Being Angry at Bad Guys, is a great resource for just that. Instead of throwing my arms up in frustration at governments or big corporations, there's a list of ideas that we each can tackle to affect change. Information about this book and other resources can be found at permies.com.
All right, it's recording. I can see the countdown. I'm here with Matt. Hi, Matt.
Hi, Paul. Thanks for having me over.
So is this your third time here?
That's correct. Yes, okay. My third time here. I was here for a PTJ, I think it was 2022 maybe, and then the PTJ 2024, and then I'm here for this week helping out with the boot camp.
Yeah, nice. And then today we're going to talk about, just real quick, some rockety stuff. So there's a magazine called Homestead Living, and I was at this event, and I should have recorded a podcast about this event I went to because it was lovely and delightful. Yeah, boy, it was last May. So what is that? 9 months ago, and maybe it was June. I can't remember. But anyway, all right. The thing is that as we were packing up our stuff to head out, then this woman came up to me and she said, I got this magazine called Homestead Living Magazine, and I would love to have you write for it. And I said something like, oh, you say that now. And then later, all these people will write to you and say, no. So, all right. And I gotta say, we've had... One of the things about rocket mass heaters, so this is what I want to do is read some of the stuff from this article, because I think that the way I phrased it when being asked to write an article is different than the way I wrote an article 15 years ago when I first learned about rocket mass heaters. So, but one of the things that's come up recently is like, okay, rocket mass heaters are a level 5 thing on the Wheaton Eco Scale. Therefore, level 3 people might think it's super cool, but level 2 people will think it's fucking crazy.
I would agree with that. That seems to track with my understanding of my talking with people and trying to evangelize rocket mass heaters to them.
Yeah. So, I think it's important to kind of keep these bits in mind. And so Uncle Mud and I have some ideas in this space about how to approach to approach in a way that's going to be more appealing to level 1. And I kind of feel like we have some other things in the hopper to appeal to level 1. Although right now, Andreas is trying to convince me that we should do a Kickstarter for a new Willow Feeder movie. And that's definitely level 5 or level 6. And so he made a thread that said, click on the thumbs up if you would support this as a Kickstarter. And I said, if you got 200 thumbs up, I would do it. Let's just do it and see. And so far he's got I think a little over 100. And so I don't know. I would kind of hope that it would be 200 right away, and the fact that it isn't is kind of like, I don't know. We kind of didn't do good on the last one. So, all right. And I've got so much more to say, but that's another topic. Today we're going to talk. So here is Homestead Living magazine, and they contacted Beau. And then the idea is that Beau and I would write this article, because I kind of feel like, and the thing I said to Beau was, I've written so much stuff about rocket mass heaters. Surely you can grab a bunch of that stuff and glue it together. And so he did. And then what I read was like, no, that's not the way to say it. So I wrote this whole new thing. And I don't know, inspiration was with me that day or something. But all right, what I want to do is I want to share the article in the podcast, and we'll stop every paragraph or two to talk about what I just said. And then we will try to say Homestead Living Magazine over and over, because I haven't asked them if it's okay if I do this.
I think it's issue number 13 from January of 2025 with a really attractive picture on the front cover. I mean, I would buy it just for the picture.
Let's see. It says homesteading on the last frontier, but I know that there's an article in here by Joel Salatin.
Well, he's a big name, Paul.
Yeah, he's my bud. And in fact, I ran into him at that event that I was just talking about, where I ran into these guys, and I got stories to tell. So many stories. And I shook Daniel Salatin's hand, and it was wonderful. And it was so good to see, and I don't know, just it was Joel and Daniel and I, and it was just such a delightful love-in for 4 minutes as we're all racing to go catch planes and stuff. And it was so good. It was so, and you know, there's a lot of really negative stuff in the world, and I just kind of feel like, but it was so positive. It was such a beautiful, positive thing. I really need to put that into my podcasts. And so when there's a beautiful, positive thing, and it was so good. All right.
Let's build the bricks instead of dragging people down.
Yeah. All right. So, and then when I'm done reading the article, my understanding is you have a couple of rocket mass heater questions for me.
I do. And you said, and I'm going to quote you, that these were good questions. So if they don't come out good, you can blame Paul, because he approved them.
I will help you if help is needed.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think that, and the thing is you've listened to most of the podcasts, including the recent ones with, where we were talking about rocket mass heater.
With Alexandra, yes.
And Stephen, I believe.
Yes, I listened to those ones as well. I'm like 4 or 5 behind because I've been traveling, but yes.
All right. Well, the new stuff is mostly about gardening, because this is the time of year to talk about gardening.
Right, because you got to prepare for those things.
Yeah.
Got to think about them.
So, all right. Let's see if I can read this okay. This is the title of this. So Beau. This is by Paul Wheaton with Beau Davidson. Oh, it says with Beau. Shouldn't it be by Paul Wheaton and Beau Davidson? I don't know. Anyway, so they do what they do. I've noticed that they've changed some of the words in here, but maybe I wrote it weird to begin with. I'm not sure, but I think that there's been some changes. And that's cool. But I got to say, this is a beautiful magazine. Okay, the world's most efficient wood stove. So and then there's a subtitle, How Rocket Mass Heaters Provide Long-Lasting Heat for a Fraction of the Energy. Okay, all right, that's fair. But here's what I wrote. Like most homesteaders, it warms my soul to heat my home with wood. I harvested it, dried it, split it, started the fire, and checked on it. Beautiful fire. And since I nurtured my trees, I like to think that I gardened and grew my heat too. In 2008, so is it more than 15 years ago? Wow.
Yeah.
That's 17 years ago. Holy shit. Okay. In 2008, I'd been heating my home with only wood for many years. A friend sat in my kitchen. Where are we sitting right now?
In your kitchen.
And damn, this is a popular spot.
You know?
Although it turns out,
food into people's bellies, and it's
they just keep showing up.
They do.
All right. Actually, it was a whole different kitchen back then. But a friend sat in my kitchen telling me about a weird wood-burning contraption he saw that defied my understanding of what wood heat can do. I told him that it had to be a fluke. I was adamant that he was wrong, and he was adamant that he was right. I trusted him, so it shook me that we would have such a disagreement. To prove my point, I traveled a few hours to see just what he was talking about. And as it turns out, he was right. A tiny fire burned for about an hour sideways, peering into the hole, because it was a J-tube. This is Cobbville, down in Coquille, Oregon. It is in a little tiny building they have called Myrtle. And that was the first time I ever saw one. And there was a fire in it at the time. When I arrived, there was a fire in it.
What time of the year was this?
It was January. And there was snow on the ground. So I watched as the flames got sucked away from me. So I'm looking into it from the top. And
looking down,
and I'm thinking like the flames should go up and the smoke should be in my face, but I'm looking into it, and there's no smoke in my face, and I can see the flames going sideways. I had to stare for a mighty long time to make sure it wasn't some sort of trick. The fire burned fast and hot, and when it went out, the bench beside it was too hot to touch. I had to put cushions on the bench to keep from burning myself. Within 15 minutes, I had to get up because I felt like I was in a sauna. The next morning, with the world outside still tucked in a blanket of snow, the bench was still very warm. The whole house was still warm. 23 hours later. But there had been no new fire. What is this wizardry? At home, I would have had a big fire running as I went to bed. And then I would have had to start a new fire first thing in the morning. I asked my friend, why don't more people know about this? And actually, I didn't ask my friend. I asked the people there at Coquille, because the guy I talked to, in fact, the guy I talked to, I believe his name was also Matt.
Oh.
Matt.
That's a good name.
And anyway, but there in Coquille, I had Ianto, Ernie and Erica, and there were a couple of other people there too. That were like experts in rocket mass heaters.
Ianto Evans and Erica and Ernie Wisner. Yeah.
Yes. There was 5 experts there, and I asked them, why don't more people know about this? And they all said, I don't know. I tell anybody that comes by. I had so many questions. I stayed for 2 days and helped them build another one. Whatever it was, the new one was different. It was simple. We went from nothing to running a fire in about a day. So it was a proper rocket mass heater workshop. On the first night, they do fire science. And so that's like 3 hours in the dark of burning things and watching how they burn. And so I've got that fire science movie that's out there. And it does. It blows your mind. It blows your mind. As there's all kinds of stuff that it's like, I never knew that about fire. I never knew that about heat. And so, I mean, the way that all this works has a lot to do with gravity, and then there's a lot about laminar flow, and there's a lot of, it goes on and on and on. But anyway, then the next morning, we spent pretty much all morning kind of like seeing drawings of rocket mass heaters and how you build them and stuff like that. And then at about 11 o'clock in the morning, we started to build it. And so on Saturday morning at about 11, I think, we started to build it. And we took our sweet, sweet time. And I know that it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday that we first lit it up.
Did you guys already have the cob all ready to go, or did you have to make the cob as well?
We had to make the cob as well.
Okay.
And this was a 6-inch cob style, and we needed to put a hole in the wall for the exhaust. And in fact, I got to say that Ernie and Erica did a build. And we started at 11 a.m. on Saturday, and I have a memory that at 6 p.m. on Saturday, Ianto looked at it and said no. So it had to all be torn out and rebuilt. And
so really you were starting at like 6 p.m. on Saturday and not 11 a.m.
Sort of, kind of. But we already, once the cob is there,
that's true.
Digging it back out again that early isn't too hard.
Mm-hmm.
It was really cold, so the cob hadn't exactly dried and, turned into a giant rock.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Let's see. We built it in about a day. There was a metal barrel, some ductwork, and we mixed a lot of sand and clay. Before I left, I started a fire and put my hand in the exhaust at the point where it exits the system. My hand got wet from a bit of cool steam, but it felt like about room temperature, 70 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe 80.
And it was pulling through. The exhaust was definitely being pulled through, rockety style.
Oh, yeah. The exhaust was coming
unassisted.
out. Everything was working correctly and working in the correct direction and all that stuff. And it was running so efficiently that the exhaust temperature was 70, 80. Now, that said, I know that when we build them now, we're shooting for a higher exit temperature. But we also are thinking we want to get to at least 120 within 2 minutes. And then we'd like to be over 140 during most of the burn. And that's to have a strong draw for a bunch of different reasons. And also to try to take the water vapor out. Because if it starts to collect in the system, that can lead to problems. And so now I think we designed them to be much warmer than that. But at the time, 70 to 80 degrees, and I was like, wow, that is amazing. So the contraption in question is called a rocket mass heater. It steals a lot of ideas from masonry stoves and then adds a few more things. How a rocket mass heater works. Smoke and creosote burn at 1300 degrees Fahrenheit, while your regular wood stoves struggle to get hotter than 1000 degrees. Rather than putting the fire in a metal box, the fire is in an insulated space. This pushes for temperatures around 900 and... Why does it say that? What? This pushes for temperatures around 982 degrees Fahrenheit to make the smoke and creosote. What is this? No. I don't... Why does it say 982 degrees? That doesn't make any sense. It should say pushes for temperatures around 1800 degrees Fahrenheit. That's what it should say. To make the smoke and creosote become bonus fuels with the added bonus of an incredibly clean burn, far less likely to cause a chimney fire. And of course, the riser is supposed to be domesticating the chimney fire. Wood stoves have a chimney temperature of 350 to 600 degrees Fahrenheit. At night, I would put a big log in the stove and turn the dampers down in the hopes of being able to wake up in the morning to a house that wasn't too brutally cold. I didn't realize that this would force my 75% efficient wood stove to operate at 3% efficiency. And when the fire would go out around midnight, the warm air continued to move from my house into the stove and up the chimney. The way I was running my wood stove was actually at a heat loss due to the introduction of outside air. You had to be right next to the running stove to feed any warmth.
So I did a quick fact checking. 1800 degrees Fahrenheit is 982 degrees Celsius. So my guess is that number there just got its unit mixed up, and then they tried to fix it.
They oopsied it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now I heat my home with a rocket mass heater. I use about 1/10 of the wood that I used to use with my regular wood stove. I light one small fire per day, and my house is warm in the morning when I wake up. Okay. So this morning, I started a fire in here around 6 or 6:30. We're corking it now, but we started at 61, and it's now 77 in here, so it's way too warm. I
had to take off my sweater.
This is uncomfortably warm in here right now. And it's about 10:30 in the morning right now. So we could have done a better job of like watching it, but I think we did pretty good. You know?
Yeah, I was checking in on it about every 20, 30 minutes maybe.
And some of the wood that was in there was a little punky.
It was quite a bit punky.
and I noticed that some of the wood was a little punky and a little heavy. And I'm thinking like, wait a minute. We should be drying this out first, but I don't know. Did fine, but I think that slows down your burn quite a bit. And so, but that was a really long burn, 4-hour burn. But I'll bet you that tomorrow morning it'll be 69 in here, and we won't build a fire tomorrow. And so, but that's kind of, I don't know. And right now it's mid-February. And the temperature outside right now is 32 degrees. It says we had a low last night of 23. So, and we just got done with some very cold temperatures, like sub-zero.
Yeah, it was pretty chilly.
Yeah. So, all right. But usually I'd say I do maybe a 1-hour burn, you know, and but I think that I don't know. I should have had more of a fire yesterday or something, and we were coming off of that super cold. So I think it just sucked a lot of the heat out of the house. And you mentioned that last night you saw it was kind of cold.
Yeah, I saw that it was about 66 degrees when I was turning off the lights and heading to bed around 8 p.m. last night. And I'm like, should I start up a fire? Well, maybe I shouldn't, because I don't know if someone's trying to get a BB or something like that. So I just let it sit, and so over the course of, 10 hours, I guess? Yeah, something like that, between 8 p.m. and about 6 a.m., it lost about 5 degrees over that time frame.
Which is like, compared to a regular wood stove, that's nothing, you know. So, but, okay, yeah. I had to go into Missoula for some reason yesterday, so I kind of didn't think about it. I just kind of buzzed out the door.
Something about picking up a doofus from the airport.
So, all right, let's see. It used to be that my woodshed would be packed with a few dead standing trees in reserve to supplement my heating needs once the shed was empty. I often thought about building another shed just to make it through the winter. Now, my shed is half empty, and yet what I have is enough to last 3 winters. All the soul-warming benefits of heating with wood, and it's easier too. So, we do have some wood sheds, but the wood that we use for the house is coming from out behind the library. So there's a little bit of, I don't know, creative license. They're trying to compare one shed to another shed and whatnot. But yeah, my old stocks, my shed would hold about 4 cords of wood, maybe a little more than 4 cords. And I had my eye on a few dead standing. So that way, you know, as I used up a whole bunch of wood, I'd have to go out and get more in order to, you know, get to about 6 cord for the winter. And then it's like I'm packing wood into the house twice a day, easy. But I'm also throwing bigger chunks of wood on the fire too. But it's also like the wood feed in this thing is pretty small. And
this is a 8-inch system, is that right?
Well, it was originally built to be an 8-inch system, but it was too rockety. So the wood feed has been reduced down to that of a 6-inch system. Okay. So it's a small wood feed. Whereas a wood stove could probably hold about 7 times more wood than this wood feed. And then at the same time, you're burning it pretty much. If it gets real cold, you're burning it all day. But okay, blah blah blah. All right.
Oh, just to drop the other shoe on the comparison, how many cords of wood would you say is out behind the library there?
Well, each one of those wood racks back there holds a face cord, which is 1/3 of a cord of wood, and I'm gonna guess there's 9. There's 9 racks back there,
something
or maybe
like
8 and a
8 or
half.
9, yeah. I would say
one of them's under a. Well, no, we don't have any. No, we don't have any under the window. maybe 8 or 9.
That's what I'm going to guess.
If there's
too.
9, it'll store 3 cords of wood under the eave behind the library. And when we started this winter, I think 2.5 of those were empty. And I think right now 3.5 of those are empty. But we've been using that wood for the Fisher-Price house and the library and the solarium. And so and then we've also resupplied a little bit, but not as I'd like it. I'd like to end up with the winter being that there's more wood there than when we started, and in fact, that's what you're going to be working on next week, right?
One of the things that I'm going to be working on.
Okay.
That's right. Stay tuned to the Permies.com forums for a blog posting of what's going on.
Okay. All right. You're going to make a thread.
That sounds like what you'd like me to do, so that's what I want to do.
I know we went down to go get some packages today, and you were taking pictures like, oh, look at that.
It was a beautiful morning. The sky was cloudy, but a little bit of blue poking through. Yeah.
It is rather beautiful country here. I live outside Missoula, Montana, Zone 5. I've been heating my home exclusively with a rocket mass heater for over a decade now. We built it in 2013 with a design I sketched. It has a beautiful wood box surrounding the bench, granite slabs on top, and a stainless steel barrel that has developed a lovely patina over the years. I'm a bit partial to mine, but I must acknowledge there are several other options for materials design, layout, and ultimate appearance, all while still providing excellent performance, safety, and low maintenance for decades to come. That guy in Scotland just released another video about reviewing his rocket mass heater, like the 10 things I love about my rocket mass heater kind of thing. And one of the things he pointed out was maintenance. He says, I think if I remember correctly, he said, this is going to last as is for 100 years. And, the maintenance is not only negligible, but there's like one thing I really probably should maintain, but 100 years from now, I'll still need to probably do that. And it doesn't matter if I do it or not.
What's that one thing?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But, of course, he's got it built and he's just loving it. And I think it's his 3-year review. And it's cob. It's a cob style. And he's like, this is going to keep working as is for 100 years. Now, of course, if you get a mini split heat pump, those on average last 14 years. But that's with maintenance, with annual maintenance. So $500 per year to have somebody come out and perform the proper maintenance on them. I don't know, a lot of people talk about that. The other thing is like, I know a lot of people don't give a shit about the carbon footprint, but I'm just going to mention it anyway. And, for those that do, and if you don't care, you can chastise those that do with this information. But basically, if you use baseboard heat in your house, that's 29.4 tons per year. And if you use mini split heat pumps, that's 20 tons per year. If you use a conventional wood stove, that's 4 tons per year, and a rocket mass heater is 0.4 tons. So it's kind of like, if somebody is like really concerned about carbon footprint stuff, then I think that a great question I want to ask them is, how do you heat your home? And then, electric baseboard, I rent, so I got, it's like, that's 29.4 tons. A rocket mass heater would be 0.4 tons. You have a massive carbon footprint. And they could say, well, I drive a Tesla, and it's like, that is really good. That is excellent. That saves you 2 tons per year. And 2 is good. 2 is really good. The average adult American carbon footprint is 30 tons. So your Tesla thing has cut too. Now, here in Montana, I think our carbon footprint is higher than the average because of heat. And until recently, we didn't really have a lot of heat options for people to stay warm with, other than suffering. Suffering seems to be the most popular way to cut your carbon footprint for heat, or to just cut your heat bill. But I mean, that's another thing too, is our heat bill here is zero. So there's a mini split up there, and I'm so proud of the repair job that Stephen and the Boots did on that. Can you see the repair job on that?
Are you talking about the nice wooden shelf?
There's a wood shelf and that rope.
Oh, yes. I do see the rope.
Yeah.
I thought that was the cord to plug it in, but no, that's definitely a rope up there.
So the rope is to keep it from falling off the wall, but I asked Stephen to put it on there in such a way as to make it look like the rope was holding the shelf up. And so I think that looks kind of like a hillbilly fix, but I think it's actually well engineered. But I don't mind that it looks like a hillbilly fix. I think that's kind of funny, especially when you got twigs and rope holding up your mini split. It kind of tells you something about that mini split.
Right.
The stuff that they put into the wall to hold it up there 2 years ago didn't keep, and so we had to cobble something together with some sticks and rope.
Right. So one thing also about the carbon footprint that I wanted to add in, I don't know the numbers like you do, but what I do know is most of that carbon that you're using for your electric heat or your mini splits or anything like that, that's going to be coming from yucky, toxic coal, fuel oil, nuclear waste that's going to cause problems for millions or thousands or, all kinds of trouble.
Sure, yeah.
Long time. And guess what? The rocket mass heater, all of that stuff, all that carbon, it's already in the active carbon cycle.
Yeah.
You're not putting it back into the environment. It's already there.
In fact, this week, you're going to be helping us out with hacking up firewood.
That's right.
And so we saw that a neighbor had done some wildfire prevention, which is you go and you cut down a bunch of trees and you throw them into a giant pile, and then you throw a tarp over the pile, and then when January rolls around, then you whip off the tarp and you set the pile on fire. So Fred was thinking ahead, and he went and talked to the person and said, "Hey, that's conveniently close to this little dirt road. Are you cool if we just take some of that wood?" And so he snagged a whole bunch of it. Then they lit it on fire like 2 days later. And then like a week after that, the fire was all out, but there was still a bunch of that wood that didn't burn because it was too green. And so then Fred and Stephen went in and they got some of that wood that was kind of burnt. So the thing is that 100% of the firewood that you're going to be hacking up and stacking was going to be burned a couple of months ago. And just in a giant pile, putting all kinds of smoke and carbon up into the atmosphere. And so we basically rescued it from that. And so we're still going to put that same carbon up in the atmosphere, but we're going to eliminate the smoke. And because we're going to use the smoke as a fuel also. So much cleaner. And it's like, but why didn't these guys hack it up and sell it? The going rate around here is still, I would have thought that the price would have gone up, but it's still about $200 to $250 a cord to have a cord of dry firewood delivered. And of course, if you ever have it delivered, you'll find out that it isn't anything like what is advertised. It isn't dry. It's full of knots. It's challenging. But still, the thing is, why didn't they sell it? And it's like, well, because all that wood burning stuff's been banned in so many different places. And so, anyway, all right. Oh, we want less smoke in the atmosphere. And it's like, why don't we get this wildfire prevention stuff? And then we'll have less smoke. And then burn it in a rocky mass heater. Then we'll have less smoke in the atmosphere. Sorry, that's my little rant. Okay. My rocket mass heater is what we call an 8-inch pebble-style rocket mass heater. And of course, I told you about some of the modifications. It's kind of 8-inch and kind of 6. Meaning that most of the duct is 8 inches in diameter, and the mass is filled with small pebbles. A great option for folks who might need to remove it someday. So all the pebble-style stuff, like this pebble-style rocket mass heater right here, I think that 2 guys can take it apart and have it loaded on a pickup truck in about an hour, I think. And I would say probably most of the work is going to be taking the box apart. But getting all the pebbles out, that's so fast because we use a shop vac. It's kind of a cheat, but it's quick. All right. A lot of people build their rocket mass heaters using cob, a mixture of clay, sand, and straw. Cob can be finished with an organic sculpted look or a sleek, polished, modern finish that resembles marble. That must be Beau writing that part. While I like my stainless steel barrel, standard metal drums work just as well. Some people even forego the barrel entirely, opting instead for a brick or stone bell. Oh, this is definitely Beau writing this part. I hate calling that the bell.
Hey, this is T. Blankenship. Have you seen the new video of Wheaton Labs? It is permaculture awesomeness with all new and improved things like more rocket mass heaters, easy bake coffin, Willy Wonka, rocket cooktop 2.0, and the truly passive greenhouse. To see more, go to permies.com/tour. Again, that is permies.com/tour.
Some builders integrate the mass into the floor rather than a bench, creating luxuriant, radiant floor heating in the summer. Wait, no, I read that wrong. Some builders integrate the mass into the floor rather than a bench, creating luxuriant, radiant floor heating. In summer, the mass remains delightfully cool thanks to... What? Uh-oh. And here I am trying to get my reading glasses out, and this is the moment that they fall apart. Here, hold this.
Yes, sir.
So I'm old. I use these cheaters, which just now broke, which isn't bad. I got a couple of years out of them, I guess. Okay, I guess I'm gonna do this one-eyed. Wow, that is hard to do. All right, let's see. In summer, the mass remains delightfully cool thanks to thermal inertia. Some folks have worked with their inspectors to make this modified masonry stove 100% code compliant. Others, wanting a rocket mass heater without the DIY effort, have purchased a UL certified Liberator rocket stove and run the exhaust through a mass. And then there are those who simply built one to stay warm, never worrying about all that stuff. Since it doesn't produce smoke after the first couple of minutes of operation, Ernie measured this one. It goes smokeless in 15 seconds. Nobody likely even notices it. From the outside, it just looks like cool steam venting from the roof. I don't know. Have you seen these so far this year? You probably haven't yet.
Seen what?
Seen the rocket mass heaters in operation from outside.
When I was coming up to the house yesterday, there wasn't one running, and I didn't look at the roof to see what.
Okay.
Yeah. So no.
Okay. All right. No. All right. Try and see if you can notice when you know one's running.
Okay.
Usually, there's nothing. There's nothing coming out at all. And the fire's blazing. But sometimes there's some steam. And so, and you know how to tell the difference between steam and smoke?
One is cloudy and the other is less cloudy.
Steam will pretty much disappear, go invisible in 5 or 6 feet away. Smoke will not. It goes on and on and on. And it's going to stay up there. Now, granted, if it's a strong wind or something, you're not going to really see the smoke. But if there's no wind, you'll see the smoke go up and maybe go a little sideways, and you'll see this giant smoke trail. I know around here we'll drive down the county road or whatever, and you'll see like a dozen different houses, and there'll be this giant smoke trail, and then you smell all the smoke. Mm-hmm. And this is a pretty rural area. It's hard to describe the beauty, ease, and luxuriance of heating your home with a rocket mass heater to undo everything we think about how heating houses with... What? It's hard to describe the beauty, ease, and luxuriance of heating your home with a rocket mass heater to undo everything we think we know about heating houses with wood. Okay. This is truly one of those things better experienced firsthand. And that was, that's how I started all this, is like, I did not believe it. And then I had to see it firsthand until I believed it. There are likely tens of thousands of these heaters running across the United States. Okay, that must be Beau, because I think there's hundreds of thousands. Mostly built by regular people with a little help. Many owners are more than happy to show them off and share their experiences. We love showing off all our rocket contraptions: 14 rocket mass heaters, 3 rocket stoves, 2 rocket cooktops, 2 rocket water heaters, rocket sauna, a rocket hot tub, 2 rocket kilns, and a rocket forge. And then it goes into, if you go, here's the thing about the plans. You can get the 3D plans at permies.com/3DP. So the number 3 followed by DP. And the funny thing is, it says it's ending the sentence. So it put the period there. I wonder if people are going to try and type in 3DP period. But, oh well, that's the way these things look. But they've got pictures of the plans of one of our Pebble style rocket mass heaters in there. And look, there's a picture of this one in the Fisher Price house. There's the one up at Cooper Cabin. The new one that's in the wood shop. I think that's pretty handsome for a wood shop anyway. So, I don't know. I thought it was a pretty nice article. Oh, here's something about me. But I don't know. All right. There. What do you have to say about this article? Anything?
I think it's a really nice story, and I think that's what people will gravitate towards in terms of like evangelizing, rocket mass heaters. It's hearing the tech specs is kind of sexy for you and maybe me, because it's like we're geeks and we like the nuts and bolts of stuff. But I think a lot of people, they're like, you know what? I want to hear a good story, and this tells it. This tells it, Paul. I really think that that's nice. And then I was going on about the picture at the cover, but they also have these other pretty pictures in here. So this is like kind of like a glamour mag for homesteading. It's like, this is some really good looking stuff, and you tell a nice story, and so people are going to say, hey, you know what? I want to learn more about this.
So it's Homestead Living magazine. And I'm looking around to try and see if there's like a website, but I'm not seeing one. Am I not looking at it correctly? Oh well. Oh wait, nope. There it is. Oh, now I got to get my glasses on again. Homesteadliving.com. Well, that was easy. That was kind of tiny, but homesteadliving.com. All right. Anything more about the article? I feel like, the thing is that all this starts with gardening. And it's kind of like, what's the most... Now, of course, when you're heating with 6 cords of wood, it kind of takes a lot of the joy out of it. But it's like, we're heating with less than a cord, well under a cord of wood here, each, like about half a cord. In fact, I have ideas about how to get it even less, like maybe next year, and so we keep talking about things. But I like the idea of getting several boxes of like some of these wooden crates that we have around here, filling them up with like just little bits of branches and stuff that we picked up within like a certain distance of the house. And then we've also been doing way better by heating with cardboard, which mysteriously accumulates here. And so I've been getting better at doing the cardboard thing, which cuts way back. It also, if you do a mix of small wood and cardboard, you'll gain 10 degrees an hour easy. Like you'll be all done in an hour. Like if you started at 65 and then you hit 75 and be like, that's plenty hot in an hour with lots of cardboard and little sticks. So, all right. You had some rocket mass heater questions. Do you remember what they were?
I wrote them down, so
good.
hopefully.
Good.
Just real quick, do we want to pause this in case we have to drop it because of them, or no? Okay.
No.
So, it's my understanding that Uncle Mud has concerns about adding wooden structures to house a rocket mass heater. I think his concern is that the heat dries out the wood to a point that the wood can then become flammable unexpectedly. And clearly we don't want that kind of thing. I may be mistaken about this situation, but that's my understanding right now. It's the case you, Paul, have a wooden housed rocket mass heater in your house. This nice, beautiful stainless steel barrel rocket pebble style deal in your house. Do you have the same concerns or not? And if so, why or why not?
I'm going to say that I think, and we'd have to have Uncle Mud here to verify, but Uncle Mud and I have been working on a book together, and but I'm going to state that I think that our concerns are identical. And now the key is, and this is what's in my mind. First of all, there's that book, Fahrenheit 451. And
great book, Ray Bradbury. Check it out from your local library.
And then the title, Fahrenheit 451, is the temperature at which paper will ignite. Now, which is a fascinating thing. So you get it up to 450 degrees and the paper just sits there and says, fuck you, leave me alone, you can't touch me, no dumbass. And then at 451, then poof, it's on fire. All right. I'm going to go so far as to say that we're concerned about temperatures of 140 degrees getting to the wood. Because then it kind of transforms that wood into a kind of paper. And I'm concerned that it will, at 140 degrees, and I could be wrong about this, but I choose to be concerned that it could ignite. I don't see how, because it's not 451 degrees. But maybe there's something more to it. It's a richer story or something like that. But I'm worried about 140 degrees being exposed to wood a lot. If it's 140 degrees being exposed to wood for 10 minutes, that won't be a problem. It's when it's like day after day after day after day for an hour at a time, then I think, okay, be concerned. And maybe I'm overly concerned. Maybe Mud and I are both overly concerned. But it seems like when he and I talk, we talk about 140 degrees. And it's like, generally what we're doing is we're thinking like, okay, it's winter time. And so that wall wants to be something closer to 50 or maybe 70 or something like that. So if we've got heat going to it that's heating up that wall to 110 degrees, well, we're not concerned. Now, the thing is about how a rocket mass heater pebble style system works is that there's a duct running through a bunch of pebbles, and then there's several different types of heat in action here. One is conductive heat, the most efficient form of heat, but it would have to jump through a tiny point where the pebble is touching, and then that pebble's going to warm up, and then that pebble has to conduct heat to the next pebble over. I mean, you've got like about 20 pebbles between the duct and the wood. And in the meantime, air is moving up through the system, perpetually extracting heat from those pebbles. So I feel pretty confident that the temperature at the wood, between the duct and the wood, via the pebbles and the air, does not get to 110 degrees. So I know that when we run this one, where the hottest spot in the bench is, that I will put my feet on the wood, on the sides of the wood, and it will feel like 80, like maybe 75 or 80. So there is some heat getting through there. And so, but I still believe it's not 110. But I mean, like, this is probably, what, 3/4 inch thick? I think it's 3/4 inch thick wood.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's a pine or something. And so wood's got an insulative value of R2 per inch. So since it's less than an inch, it's maybe R1.5. And so it's like, well, maybe the temperature on the other side of this piece of wood is actually, closer to 90 or 95. That's possible. So I know that when we design all of these things, we think a lot about what's going to be the temperature that gets over to where that wood is. So I don't know. I know that mud has built some pebble style systems, including here. I don't think Mud would ever build anything that's outside of his comfort zone. I know that he'll put in the heat shield, like over in the red cabin, and then we took it out. But we took it out after we put the cob cape on, because the barrel is going to be putting out a much higher temperature. But once the cob cape is in place, that's going to protect the wall. It's going to be a different kind of heat shield. And so I think when we've run it for a really long time, it would be good to try to get some temperature readings off of the back side of the cape, or even better yet, the wood wall behind it, to kind of get some ideas of like, okay, what kind of temperatures are we looking at here? So how hot is it getting? I'm going to guess that the wood wall behind the cape never gets above room temperature. But I could be wrong. I look forward to getting those numbers. I mean, we do a lot of... In fact, this rocket mass heater right here, when it was built, it was the first of its kind being built. And so it was a lot of experimentation happening all at once. It's a leap in experimentation. And it just turned out to be that all of our guesses were right. And it turned out to be an excellent system. So we are talking about doing an overhaul on it sometime soon. Like there's several things about it that I want to change. So it's bulging a little bit. I don't know if you noticed this at all. But
like that wooden housing bulging?
Yeah. And so I want to take out, we've got some stuff in the middle to help keep it from bulging, and it's like clearly we need to do something much stronger than what we put in there. Mm-hmm. But that's really just cosmetic. But I like the idea of like, let's change the ductwork in it a little bit, and I think that would make the system a little more efficient. And I mean, that's part of what's going on in this system right now, is that it's a little under efficient. I think that there's a lot of heat going out the roof when we run it, and which makes it have a really strong draw. So I kind of like the idea of like keeping all of that strong draw while at the same time making the system more efficient. Like we keep more heat inside. Mud and I have had some long talks about, first we thought about putting a cob hat on this, and then we decided to not put a cob hat on it, and instead like let's do something that's kind of like a metal hat of sorts. And then you'd kind of have a bit of an oven thing, but it would also keep more of the heat down low rather than just heating the ceiling so much. Anyway, sorry. You asked me a question about wood. I think I covered it.
Yes, so I'm going to summarize for those of you who have an attention span of someone with ADHD. I'm raising my hand for those who can't see across the auditory waves. So the short story is, the concern was there is a pebble-style heater that has housed in a wooden box. So the concern was, or the question was, having to do with, hey, Uncle Mud has concerns about having wood too close to rocket mass heaters, or at least parts of rocket mass heaters. Do you have that same concern? Your answer, my understanding, is that no, you don't have. Well, you do have the same concerns, but in this circumstance, with just housing the pebbles and keeping the pebbles in place, basically, you don't have that concern, because in order for it to reach a temperature of 110 degrees, which is where you start to get concerned over the long term,
140.
Oh, 140.
140 is where I start to get concerned.
Okay, so 140 degrees Fahrenheit, you say that it's not, that temperature is not reaching the wood housing for the pebbles, and so you don't have that concern in this instance.
I think it's fair to have somebody come out who's got some good scientific rigor and put some temperature probes in the pebbles and kind of start to gather some data about how are we doing. Or even better yet, maybe we should vacuum out a patch where it's probably the hottest in the whole system and take a look at the wood. Is the wood starting to get a little punky? Which is kind of what it does. When it gets exposed to heat for a long time, it starts to get a little bit punky. And so we could look at that, and we could try to get an idea of, like, is that starting to happen? I suspect it is not, but sure, let's take a look and find out, and let's get some hard data. I mean, this thing's been used every winter for 11 years. Great time to start getting some data. I mean, I think another thing is that this thing's now 11 years old. I don't see a reason why it won't live to be 100. So I'm a big fan of this overall technology. I think, and then the mini splits need to be replaced every 14 years. And my understanding is that if you get an in-ground heat pump, while those are something like $35,000, that there are certain components of those systems that need to be replaced every 14 years. So, I mean, while those heat systems have a type of efficiency which is being powerfully advocated for, I think that they've got some shortcomings too that people tend to overlook. And so now we have a mini split right there. There it is. And it's like, which I got to say, if you're going to have events in the summertime and people working in the kitchen cooking hot things, wise to have a way to keep them cool. And so that's the primary reason why we have it. But it's like, if we were to, for some reason, leave this building unattended for 2 weeks, we could just turn that on and it'll keep the pipes from freezing and stuff. So, but I don't. Since we got the mini split, the only time it's come on in the winter is when we got it too warm in here, and then it turned on because it activated its air conditioning mode, and it's like we didn't realize that the air conditioning mode is still on, and we set it very high, but like the heat rises and that mini split's up very high, so it's like wow, the temperature in here is so high, I'm going to turn on the air conditioner. And so that's been, we've always kept a fire going. It's easy, it's delightful, it's a joy to make a fire in a rocket mass heater. So I don't know, it felt a little weird when Alexandra was here for so long and kept building fires every day, and I'm like not supposed to be a part of it. And shout out to Alexandra, by the way. When she was all done and she took her kids home, she left that firewood rack packed, and there's still firewood on there that she put on there that we haven't touched yet, and she left like more than a month ago. So kind of giving you an idea of like how slowly we use the wood. But all right, do you have any other questions about rockety things?
Yes, I think I do. Let's see. So I have book learning about rocket mass heaters, and I've helped build a couple here and there here at Wheaton Labs. However, I don't have much experience running one because I don't have access to one for my daily business. So I don't have that hands-on practical application of running a rocket mass heater. So I was feeding it this morning, and I came across a situation that I was kind of curious about. So the situation was, again, this is referring to the 8-inch pebble-style rocket mass heater in your house with a 6-inch feed tube. It's a J-tube, not a batch box. It was at a point where there was some coals at the bottom and some sticks in there, but I couldn't really stick in a normal sized stick.
It would stick out of the top,
pop out too high, and I was concerned about the flames coming up and causing smoke back, and we don't want that kind of bad news here.
Right.
So I said, okay, well, Paul, what is the best way to handle this type of a situation? Do you just put in a bunch of shorties? Because I know you want to have the feed tube filled and have a full belly, as you say. You want only little tiny gaps in there to let the air be sucked through and give that nice rockety sound and efficiency. So, but how would you handle this situation where there's like coals, but you can't really stick in normal size stuff?
Well, okay. One of the things that we did is we recently brought up a box of paper garbages from like probably the summer or something, and we brought them up here, and I would take cardboard boxes and break them up into little pieces. And then when the time came that I saw a bunch of coals like that, and I'm kind of thinking about like it's an edge case. Like I don't want to leave it that empty because it's not a full belly, and that's a problem. But at the same time, I can't put full-size sticks in there. I do have a bunch of shorties standing by, but my shorties are a little precious, and so I want to save those for, because I could just put all shorties in there and I'd be fine. And that is a way. So what I usually do when I have a lot, because like right now I've burned up a lot of that paper and a lot of that cardboard, and it's gone now. But if I have a bunch of it sitting here, then what I'll do is I'll put a whole bunch of it in there, and which will just make the fire roar. And about 4 minutes later, now everything that's in there has been so burned out and burned so hot and so fast, and plus it raised the temperature in the building 3 degrees, then now I can put in full-size sticks again. So that's normally what I do. But if I don't have a lot, fortunately Amazon graced us with some more cardboard today. But this morning when I was starting the fire, it's like, I don't have a lot of paper or cardboard to work with, so I'm just going to use just enough to get the fire started, and then I'm going to use small sticks to kind of get the fire really roaring well. I put the bigger sticks towards the burn tunnel and the smaller sticks away from the burn tunnel, so that way they all burn about evenly. And then, lean on shorties and stuff like that. Now, there's another little trick I can do is if they're truly coals and there's no sticks left, it's just coals. Sometimes I'll use the poker and kind of encourage the coals to go further down the burn tunnel, which will then make it so I can put in, full-size sticks. But I don't do that very often. But that's another way. Mostly what I want to do is do the thing, go back to my office, and ignore it until about 20 minutes later. It's like, I should go check on that. And it's like, I don't know why people say, like, the only way you can use a rocket mass heater is if you're sitting next to it the whole time it's burning. And I know I don't do that. I'm kind of like, who's doing that? And if they're doing that, is that really a rocket mass heater? I wander away from them all the time. I do know that if it gets to the point that it no longer has a full belly, it's going to work a lot less efficiently. So I want to be there to fill it before it gets to that point. But all right, so I gave you a couple of different ideas of the things that I do. I don't know if does that answer your question?
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
And what you said tracks with my, albeit limited, experience for using rocket mass heaters. And that's, hey, you can put some stuff in there and then walk away from it and go do something for 20, 30 minutes and then come back later on and fill it up again. So it's kind of like little batches that you're working with. Instead of doing like a batch box, it's sort of like, okay, I'm going to stick in a little bit right now, and then I'm going to leave it, and that's going to burn down, and then come back to it.
If I have an hour-long meeting in my office, then I'll put like 2 giant blocks of wood in at the same time. And like these 2 giant blocks, they'll just barely fit in the wood feed. And it's like, good luck, giant blocks, you're on your own. And the funny thing is, I'll get back in an hour and you'll think like, oh, a 1 hour burn, it raised the temperature 10 degrees. But it'll have raised the temperature in the house maybe only 2 or 3 degrees, even though it was an hour-long burn. So it's kind of like, the smaller wood is going to make for a hotter burn, which is going to raise the temperature in the house faster. And so if I can pay more attention, I want to do a faster burn, because then I can cork the whole system faster, and we're done. And then go about everything else in the day. But if I'm like not paying a lot of attention, and I keep getting, if I get to the point once in a while where it's down to just a couple of coals, there's a lot of air in the house that's just being sucked into the system and taken outside, and that makes it inefficient. So it's going to pull a lot of cold air into the house from outside. Whereas if I can just pay attention, do a good, fast, hot burn, which means start the fire, go into my office for 20 minutes, come back, add to the fire, and repeat that twice more. And then, I don't know, come back later when it's now getting down to coals and cork it. Then good. We raise the temperature in the house 10 degrees in about an hour, and it used very little wood, and it didn't take very much time. It didn't take a lot of my time. So I don't even remember what the question was. Did I even answer it?
You did indeed.
Okay.
The question, for those of you with ADHD like me, it was how do you handle a situation where you have some wood in the wood feed, but the wood feed, but you don't. There's a lot of coals in there, so you can't put in a full chunk of wood. How do you handle that? And if I understand you correctly, there's basically 2 little tricks. One is to use a bunch of shorties if you have them. A second one is to utilize cardboard or paper products. If you can burn those guys, if you have a good chunk of that, that'll burn it down real fast and raise it up the temperature real good, and it'll get rid of all those coals as well, and then you can put in normal sized wood. And you also mentioned if it's only coals and no wood, you can shove that, push it on down the burn tunnel a little bit.
I do want to add a thing to say, like, this is me trying to be lazy. And so I'm trying to do things in such a way, and it has been not only the 11 years of running this one, but I've run rocket mass heaters for a few years before this one. And so this is my optimized path where I believe what I'm doing is making it so that I can heat this space with less wood and less time and less effort. But I think it's totally possible that you could start a fire, let it burn, come back in 2 hours, and the fire went out an hour ago, and the building's a little bit warmer than it was, and then you start a new fire and, do that. That's a different flavor of lazy. And so I'm just trying to say, like, here's what I learned in order to be able to minimize my total time spent screwing with it. And I think that the stuff I'm talking about might sound a little complicated, but it's optional. It's purely optional. I think a big thing is that we got a lot of papery stuff left over from the summer that we haven't even touched yet. And it's like, so, I use way too much papery stuff to start the fire because I have so much and I don't want to make kindling. And then And then if I get down to the point where it's some coals, but the coals aren't small enough, like I don't feel comfortable putting them, then I want to get rid of more of that paper. It's a great time to get rid of, like, boy, it just, at that point, it really eats all that paper and cardboard, just gobbles it up. And then at the same time, not only does everything get really, really, really hot, but it also shrinks those coals fast. Ta-da!
Wonderful. Thank you, Paul. Regarding paper and cardboard, how are you positioning that? Because if you were to make a tube of that, I would be concerned that would cause a chimney effect as it's burning. So how do you position your paper? Do you crumple it up and chuck it in there, or the cardboard? Do you leave it in big chunks or long strips, or how do you do that?
So we've got one of those box cutters over there where the cardboard boxes are, and so I like to cut the cardboard up into chunks that are like 3 inches by 6 inches or smaller, and I don't get too exact because I'm trying to do it fast, but without cutting myself or cutting my stuff, you know. So and then when I put a bunch of it in, I kind of put in a stack. I'll put in like, 20 slices of cardboard in at once, all in a sandwich down in there. And then the fire roars for about a minute. And then I'll put another sandwich in there. But, I don't know. I kind of feel like when it's paper, like there's I think Des has his old yearbook in there. And so I tear out like 6 pages, and it's a shiny yearbook, so it's got a lot of clay in the paper. But I'll rip out like 6 pages, I'll fold it in half, lengthwise, I guess, and then I'll put that in there, and then that'll roar pretty good. But I'll generally mix that with some cardboard, because paper gets weird when you try to burn a lot of paper all at once. It gets really weird. And so the cardboard generally doesn't get too weird. So I'll do paper mixed with cardboard or just cardboard. Did I answer your question?
Did indeed. So just one follow-up question. So you were talking about a cardboard sandwich. Is the bread of the sandwich oriented towards the burn tunnel, or is it perpendicular to the burn tunnel? Or does that matter?
I think it matters. I always do it towards, I want the air to move through the cardboard as much as it will. Whereas if you did it perpendicular, it would kind of block the airflow. And so, I think aligned with the burn tunnel, I guess. And then I also don't put in a sandwich that's so thick that it's going to block all the air intake. I want the air to move around my sandwich or through my sandwich. So I put enough in so it'll burn hot and fast.
So maybe like 2/3 of the burn tunnel in dimension, or the feed tube, something like that. Yeah.
And then I don't leave it if I'm burning just cardboard, because the cardboard's going to be all gone in less than a minute. And then I'm kind of thinking like, okay, am I going to do like 3 or 4 rounds of cardboard and then put in some wood, or maybe 1 round of cardboard and then put in some wood? If I'm feeling less than patient, then I might just do 1 round and then put in some wood. And if the wood sticks out the top just a little bit, then I'll do things to kind of mitigate it sticking out the top a little bit. But mostly I feel strongly that I want it to not stick out at all, but I will allow that a little bit once in a while. And you and I fiddled with that a little bit today.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. So, next question.
I think that's all that I had for rockety bits.
Okay.
Do you want to go on to the next topic?
I want to go on to the next topic another time. I think right now I need to get back to the empire and stuff. So if you like this sort of thing, come on out to the forums at permies.com, where we talk about heat, homesteading,
and permaculture
all the time.
In a world on the brink of social collapse, one website stands above the rest to fight back the zombie horde of corporate trolls. Permies.com. Take back control of your destiny and protect your loved ones from the toxic gick coming at you from all directions. Strap on your overalls and start building that bunker of abundance with the good vibes and friendly, helpful insight found at Permies.com.